Good morning, it's Tess, and today's tip is 410, and it is basically, have you learned everything you're going to learn, or are you currently a learner? And this is coming to me from some things that I've been thinking about and moving forward, and a lot of what, like I've been learning in all the masterminds and with all the mentors that I've connected with, and with Doc V, he talks about it continually. And I think it's something that actually I'm really kind of glad about because it's something I truly love. But it's the idea that we always have to be open to learning. Not that we've learned everything. Well, we'll never know everything because what happens today is different than what's going on tomorrow. And I talked about it with my mom recently because if I think about it, I remember my grandmother telling me that her and my grandfather dated on horseback. They didn't have cars. They really didn't have TVs. And we probably would be better off without TVs now. Hi, Thomas. Good to see you. But there was that period of time. Then those of us that are on the older side will remember things like cassettes, VHSs, turning into CDs, DVDs. Now everything's streamed. Everything evolves and everything changes. So I thought that this quote from this book, End Mental Illness by Daniel Amen, and this is somebody Doc V has introduced us to in the tribe. He talks about brain health and how our age is really, hi, you punter, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. So nice to see you. And again, this book, Daniel Amen, The End of Mental Illness, he's talking about brain health and how they actually did like some CAT scan. Teresa, good to see you. Good morning. I'll share the book again. And I really thought this book was important because for those who do know, I tutored learning disabled kids and actually a lot of my friends' children in reading for quite a number of years. And they actually did brain scans on the students, and they would find out that when you remediated, educated, and used multisensory training, you could actually activate other parts of the brain. Well, what I thought was interesting in this book by Daniel Amen is that he shows how what he's calling bright minds, and for those in the tribe, you'll remember this because Doc V has talked about this before, and we had a video about it, but he talked about how this will actually help you in moving forward. Well, the very beginning of this book, the introduction, had a quote that really hit me, and I think it's very important now as we're in spring when we can make a lot of beautiful things happen, and also in a time where we're looking at life differently because some people are working remote, some people are changing the way they work, some people have been misplaced and are looking for new ways to work because of what we've gone through the past couple of years. So again, the book, this is actually the quote that made me think about today's talk, and it is, in times of profound change, which is where we're at, the learners inherit the earth, while the learned, past tense, find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. I thought that was so meaningful because I think that's what's happening right now. And Doc V's talked about it a lot in group, that back when we were first going into lockdown 2 years ago, he kept saying pivot, readjust, think about your skills. What are you going to do when this is over with? We didn't know if it was going to last 1-2 weeks because I remember when my company first, Taylor Jade, Mama to be, good to see you. And I'll show again because I had a few more come on board. This is the book I'm looking at. And I remember at the time that I first got involved with Doc V, Mandy, good to see you and happy Easter. So nice to see everybody this morning. Maybe I'm better to go later. I get to see more people. And Doc V talked about a couple of years ago. So everybody who's on who has been a part of the tribe will know. A couple of years ago, he told us, when things open up again, and we didn't know it would be 2 years, but when things open up again, the world is going to look different. And because it's going to look different, think about how you want your life to look when things open back up again. Now, we never expected it to go this long, but there's a lot of people who didn't have work, have career changes, need to find a new way to move forward. And I thought it was interesting in this book because they're talking about the brain. And if you're going to have to change your life, probably talking too fast. If you're going to have to change your life, what's the one of the number one things you're going to want to have is a sharp mind. You're going to want to have your body and your mind able to take you through any challenges that you go through. So today I'll talk about this bright minds, and just briefly because it'll take me some additional talks to go through. And again, here's the book. But in Bright Minds, he's just giving pointers on how to keep the brain active. And I think and keeping it at peak performance. And I think that's really important because even when I was working with students on learning to read, there was a lot of work about the brain. And basically what they found out, and I believe this to be true too, it's just that there are certain students that need to learn in a different way. And if we approach them and teach them in a different way, it's really no longer a learning disability. It's just, it was almost like they showed in the brain that it was rewiring. When you did sequential, repetitive, step by step, it actually just helped their brain to go from, say, right to left so that they access the part of the brain that helps make language and reading easier. But it made me think about what a beautiful thing the brain is and what kind of things we can do to help it. And so this man, Dr. Daniel Amen, has something he calls bright minds. So if you write bright minds on a sheet of paper, he'll give you hints on what each one of those letters is referring to so you can keep your mind active. And the first thing he talked about is blood flow. And we all know blood flow is really important because for any of us who have struggled with anemia, you know that even staying awake is hard if your blood flow isn't optimal. And you get tired and you have other issues related if you don't have blood flowing through your body all the time. So they also talk about how like controlling your diet and getting omegas in and exercise will help blood flow. The next thing they talk about is retirement aging. Now, well, that sounds like retirement not being active, but what they're saying is that we retire our mind and we'll let it go stagnant when we stop learning, which made me think of that quote in the very beginning of this book. Our minds will start dying. And basically he says, your mind will start dying when you stop learning. So you want to continue to have something to keep all areas of your brain active through all parts of your life. The next thing they talk about, we all know this, inflammation. A lot to do with the foods we eat, a lot to do with taking care of our bodies. Inflammation causes us not to feel good and causes us to be lethargic. Genetics, we know genetics is what we're born with, but that's only one piece of this big word, bright minds. So if you can fix every other area, you can overcome a lot of obstacles. The next thing is head trauma. Again, we know when I was working with students and when I was teaching reading and math, what they told us is, and this was a true thing. Oh, yeah, it's Daniel G. Amen, A-M-E-N, M-D. He's a doctor. And he actually went through some church systems here in the U.S., I believe it was, where he was trying to, he said he went to church one night, and this it's kind of funny if you catch the video, but he went to church one night and he got angry because everybody was coming in with donuts and these crazy $6 coffee drinks, and he said, so you come into the church to save your soul, but you're going to die by the food you're eating while you're sitting there listening to the sermon. So he started going through churches trying to educate on how to have better brain health, and he has since written some of these books. So we know blood flow is important because anemia is an issue. We know retirement means that we have to keep learning. We know inflammation. We all know about inflammation. If everything is swollen, you can't move around, you don't feel good. Genetics is one small piece of all of this he's talking about that maybe we can't control, but we can control all these other areas. Head trauma, just where you can, even bicycle riding. When I do my organized bicycle, when I do any bicycle riding, I wear a helmet. I just do. I do remember because my dad's a motorcycle rider, and I do remember as a kid he hated it when they instituted helmet laws, but I bet you if I asked him now, he'd be in full support of it because the young guy didn't want to wear a helmet, and the guy now who's been through more experiences kind of appreciates the helmet. But maybe I shouldn't speak for him because maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. But protecting our head, because that's where our brain resides and we want to let it have all the tools it needs. Toxins, we all know about this. These are all things to keep our brain healthy so that we can keep learning, so that we can keep moving forward in life. And I agree with all this. And this, again, Doc V has talked about this in group. May have been 6 months ago, but he has specifically referred to this quote, bright minds, and he has also showed us the video from this author. And we know toxins like drug use, cigar smoking, alcohol, anything like that we know can reduce how much we can use of the mind or how long we can stay focused on something. Mind storms, now this is an interesting because he's using the word bright minds. The M he's calling mind storms, which is in reference to stress management. It's reference to temper flares. And I think this was the best way somebody explained it. But if you get angry at another person, you're putting poisons throughout your system because you're angry at someone else. So you're angry at someone else and you want them to pay for it. But that anger just put a flood of nasty stuff through your own bloodstream, and they walk away happy because it doesn't hurt them, it only hurts you. So controlling those temper flares or those not feeling good or the anxiety, and for me the biggest things with anxiety are those pre-paving statements from Zara Mahoon, which are like, I get up in the morning, dear God, thank you for another opportunity to enjoy life. I want my day to unfold with ease. I want good things to come my way. I want to end this day feeling happy and satisfied. So I say that kind of a thing when I get up to set the stage, and then I always meditate. And I do that every day faithfully, and it really, really feels good. So control those mind storms. Try to recognize when you have them. If you're getting angry, maybe it's take a walk, give yourself 10 seconds, give yourself half a minute, give yourself 1,000 steps, something to disconnect. Because I almost think that if you're in the middle of a temper storm, it's no better than trying to reason with somebody who's drunk. Walk away and come back fresh when you can be reasonable. Then for the word bright minds, the I is immunity. And it talks about, like, for those of us in northern climates, maybe there's not a lot of sun. You might want to think about vitamin D, or maybe if it's winter months, vitamin C. Look at your foods, and if you get your blood work done, you can see where your vitamins might be low. And whenever I get that done, I take a look at that blood work, and then I kind of say, I wonder if building a puzzle, if I'm low on something, what kind of fruits and vegetables can I add that will add that in? And then I put them in my green smoothie. And just see, because it's kind of a fun game for me, and I love to do it going forward. Then the next thing is... they call it, this is in the bright minds, and the N is neurochromone issues, and that says low testosterone. I'll have to read up more on that, but it just says that there are cases where people need replacement for that. The D in bright minds is diabetes, which is high blood sugar levels. We know that's all damaging. I can remember my life pre-surgical. Again, as a reminder to everyone, I am almost 6 years out. This was me before surgery. This was me 1 year after surgery. I'm down 175 pounds. I've lost almost half of my body weight. So close that I could almost call it, but I won't until I actually hit it. But I know that I was on the edge. I was considered insulin resistant, but I was not considered diabetic. But I do know that the high blood sugar levels in my body caused me to be really sluggish and sleepy. And I know that every single day that goes by, I feel stronger and better. I can remember only being awake long enough to get to work or to get done just the bare minimum of what I could because I had no more energy. The sugar was zapping everything out of my body. So for me, I do still honor the keeping my sugar levels at 12 grams or under for any meal that I eat. I don't worry about it if it's fruits, because when I talk to my nutritionist, if I'm picking up a raspberry, and I don't think any of them really have that much sugar, but if I'm picking up a raspberry or a strawberry and it comes as a piece of fruit, it does not have a list of ingredients with it, then I wash it up and I eat it. I don't worry about sugar counts in that because that's all natural. It's that added stuff that Doc V calls the chemical poop storm that goes through your body. That's the stuff you want to get rid of. And then the last thing for this bright minds was sleep. We all know if that we're not getting enough sleep, our body doesn't have that time to clean itself. And somebody, Glenn from my group was talking about, I don't remember the doctor's names, but they had a book, Diamond were the author's names. But what they were talking about is that our body goes through a period of time. Like the reason you want to go a period of time without eating is the way it works is that your body has so many hours to kind of like clean house, so to speak, and then it has to take out the garbage. Well, if you don't give your body time to go through the full processing and getting all that garbage and getting rid of it in your body, it's already grabbing the next set of food to try to process it before it even has a chance to take off the garbage from the night before. So that's why they talk about a span of time between when you eat your last meal and when you get your next meal. And the best time is overnight when you're sleeping. Your body knows that you've gone into a more dormant state, so it will actually clean house, but you want to give it enough hours sleeping that it cleans house, and then it takes out the garbage before you put more in and start it all over again. I often laugh because I talked to my mom about it once, and I know I've said this before too, but my mom grew up my mom grew up on a farm for the first number of years of her life because there was a family farm. And I asked her once, I said, is it true, like everyone says, farmers get up and they have these big meals? And she goes, well, yeah, they have big meals. But she goes, but not, it's like 4 hours after they wake up. She goes, because the animals always got fed first. Then you had your big meal after you fed the animals. And I thought, see, we all make the rules work to what feels good for us. And it made me look at things a little bit differently. I now try, like one day this week, for some reason, I felt like I was hungry all day long. Thank heaven I don't keep bad foods in this house, but I seem to be eating more than I normally do. And I got to the end of the day and I'm like, oh, I don't like that feeling. I recognize that feeling. I'm now at a point where if I've eaten something processed, I can taste the chemicals in it. If I've eaten too much food, I feel the heaviness in my body. And I don't like that feeling. I like being energetic. Because Lori and I, we were walking hills at Sundance, and there's all kinds of fun avenues that we get to. So hi, Lori. All the kinds of fun things to do. Taylor, I know she was on here a minute ago. As a kid, there were all kinds of activities we'd all get into. And that's what this is all about. This brain health has been... Oh, see, Laura's doing the fasts too, because it really, and it is Diamond. I can't remember the two. It's a husband and wife team, Diamond, and it's Fit for Life, I think is what it's called. And it was Glenn Wassmer who actually introduced it in our group. But your body needs a certain amount of time, and it likes that period of time overnight to where it actually gets all the junk, processes the garbage, takes it to the curb, before it starts the next day, because based on what they were saying is if you get back into eating too quickly, they haven't had a chance to take out the garbage, so it'll have to sit there until they find enough time to take it out. So I think that's a great thing to do. I'm going to try to do some 24-hour fasts, but only like 1 or 2 a week. But again, I've been doing things on and off for a while. So I will once again show this book. For those in the tribe, Doc V has had videos about this, and this Bright Minds I'm mentioning today, he has talked about this, and really all they did, and I'll kind of show you since my book is right, he actually just talks about Bright Minds. Like, I'll read the book, but so for Bright, it's blood flow. For R, it's retirement, and basically what that means is don't stop learning. And then I is inflammation. G is genetics, and we really can't do a lot about that, but since we have so many other letters to work from, we can make huge changes. H is head trauma. T is toxins. We know cigarettes, alcohol, and drugs hurt us. Mind storms is tempers. Get the skills, meditations, positive statements, affirmations, whatever it is to help you, because keep in mind, if you go into a toxic, angry storm, all you do is release the poisons within your own body. You're not hurting the person you're mad at anyway. Immunity issues. If you have low vitamin D, get outside. There's something about low testosterone is part of his minds. Diabetes, we all know high sugar causes problems. And then sleep. Sleep is a problem for many of us. If you don't get enough, your body can't clean house, so to speak. So as I end this video, I'm going to read that quote again that got this all started for me today. And it was related to in Bright Minds, the R, retirement. They don't mean retirement as in, hey, I'm 65 and I don't have to work anymore. They mean in not using your brain. If you're a learner, and I'll say the quote, in times of profound change, the learners, those who are continuing to learn every single day, inherit the earth, while the learned, past tense, they're no longer learning, find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. None of us know what tomorrow brings. Many of us know that what was going on in 1980 is very different than what's going on in 2022. Be a learner, always reaching for something more than what you knew yesterday, because that will create a world full of surprises and delights that will carry you for years to come. Let's make our lives the best they possibly can. Find joy, love, and excitement. And I'll pick up that clipboard I just dropped. But Bright Minds, as Dr. Daniel Amen says, Bright Minds. Let's take care of our bodies, take care of our minds, and see what kind of amazing things we can accomplish. Thank you, and you guys have a beautiful, beautiful day.